this is Mike Cook. I'm here in my home gym, and welcome to another episode of Anti-Doping Updates. This is 22.3. Today, we've got two great stories coming out of the Tokyo Olympics. Let's get started. First one is Blessing Okabari. She is a sprinter from Nigeria, and she's ranked number 9 in the world in the 100 meters with a personal best of 10.64 and ranked number 16 in the world in the 200 with a personal best of 22.03. She's a 4-time Olympian. She competed in the Beijing 2008, the London 2012, the Rio 2016, and the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. She also competed in the long jump in the 2008 Olympics, where she placed second. She was upgraded to the silver medal after a Ukrainian long jumper was disqualified due to an anti-doping rule violation. But this story is in regards to the 2020 Olympics. And she was named as athlete number 1 in the U.S. Department of Justice first prosecution under the Rodchenkov Act of Erythroprotein. And I talked about that in episode 22.1. But now we have the anti-doping rule violation of Blessing Okabari. So on July 19th and 20th of 2021, she participated in the Olympic trials for Nigeria and placed first and was selected to the Olympic team and selected for testing. Those samples, 2 samples from there, one tested positive for human growth hormone or HGH, and the other tested positive for recombinant erythroprotein or REPO. So human growth hormone is a prohibited substance under the World Anti-Doping Code, and it's in the class of anabolic steroids, and it's used to stimulate growth and cell reproduction, and it's used as a prescription drug to stimulate growth in children and in adults with hormone deficiencies. But it's used as a performance enhancement drug for athletes because of the cell regeneration properties of it. It allows athletes to train harder, recover better. Erythroprotein is secreted in the kidneys, and it stimulates red blood cell production. And so recombinant erythroprotein is artificially manufactured erythroprotein, not naturally produced. And it increases, by increasing red blood cell production, it increases oxygen transfer in the blood, and therefore that's why it's a performance enhancing drug. So on July 30, the results of the July 19 and 20 tests were reported back to the Athletics Integrity Unit, which is the disciplinary arm of World Athletics, and they informed her of the positive test and that she was provisionally suspended. This was while Blessing Okabari was at the Olympics, having competed in the quarterfinals for the 100 and was about to compete in the semifinals. So she requested analysis of the B sample, which confirmed the results of the A sample. On September 10th, the Athletics Integrity Unit had an interview with her where they asked her for her explanation, and she denied using it. And they were at that time aware of some of the Erythroprotein prosecution, and they demanded a copy of her cell phone for imaging to see if there is other evidence that they could gather. Blessing Okabari refused. Based on the positive tests and the refusal to allow the imaging of her cell phone, the Athletics Integrity Unit charged her with 2 anti-doping rule violations, presence and use as one, and failure to cooperate with the investigation as a separate anti-doping offense. And they also, because they believed that she was deliberately committing anti-doping rule violations in a scheme to enhance her performance at the Olympics, they submitted that was an aggravating circumstance and asked for an additional 2 years on each of the charges. So the Athletics Integrity Unit referred the matter to Sport Resolutions for a hearing, which was held before a sole arbitrator. And at the hearing, Blessing Okabari argued, number one, she didn't take HGH, didn't take EPO, and she's not athlete number one as named in the Eric Lira prosecution. And she didn't allow AIU to image her cell phone because she believed that the AIU had already leaked information about her positive test to the press in Nigeria and wanted to get more information to damage her reputation. So that was Blessing Okabari's argument about having a compelling justification to refuse the production of her cell phone. AIU argued that she was engaged in a sophisticated scheme to increase her performance at the Olympics, and as part of their evidence, they used the prosecution documents that the Department of Justice had made public regarding that, and in that included transcripts from her cell phone, because when Blessing Okabari returned from the Olympics to the United States, the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents seized her phone and imaged it there. So FBI had a copy of her phone. So in the phone, there's multiple messages between Blessing Okabari and Eric Lira, where she promises to pay him $2,500 for HGH and for EPO, and there's multiple transactions regarding that. And there's one particular message where, after competing in a race, Blessing writes to Eric Lira saying, "Hola amigo, Eric, my body feels so good. I just ran 10.63 in the 100 meters on Friday with a 2.7 wind. I am so happy. Whatever you did, it is working." And Eric Lira replied back to her, "What you did is going to help you for the upcoming events. You are doing your part and you will be ready to dominate." So the sole arbitrator considered all that information, both the information in the Eric Lira prosecution and the information that was put forward at the hearing, Blessing Okabari's refusal to hand over her cell phone, and they found, they agreed with the AIU that there was 2 anti-doping rule violations. One, presence and use of both EPO and HGH, and secondly, the failure to cooperate with the investigation. And they also found aggravating circumstances on both of those anti-doping rule violations. So 4 years for the presence and use, plus an additional 1 year on that for the aggravating circumstances. And then another 4 years for the failure to cooperate, and another 1 year on that for aggravating circumstances. So a grand total of 10 years for Blessing Okabari. So this is most likely a career-ending sanction for Blessing Okabari. She does have the opportunity to appeal that decision to the Court for Arbitration of Sport. We'll see if she does that. Okay, next story, CJ Ujah. He is a British sprinter. He was in the 4x100 relay where Italy took, at the Tokyo Olympics, where Italy took a surprise first. Great Britain was second, Canada was third, and China was fourth. So as a participant in the finals, he was selected for in-competition testing, and his sample tested positive for endosarm and S23, which is a selective androgen receptor modulator, or SARM, both of which are prohibited substances. So he requested, he denied using those and requested analysis of the B sample and and the B sample confirmed the A sample for the positive test for Enbosarm and for S23. So the International Testing Agency has results management authority at the Olympics. The IOC delegated that to the International Testing Agency. And then the International Testing Agency referred the matter to the Court for Arbitration of Sport, the Anti-Doping Division, for a hearing. They had jurisdiction to determine, one, whether or not a anti-doping rule violation had been committed, and number two, what would be the appropriate, whether or not the results should be disqualified at the Olympics. World Athletics still has the jurisdiction to determine if there should be a sanction. So right now, what the Court for Arbitration of Sport Anti-Doping Division determined was that yes, there was an anti-doping rule violation of the presence and use of Enbosarm and S23, and they found that his results in the 4x100 relay final should be disqualified, which means the whole team should be disqualified because of he was one of the relay members of that. So that means Great Britain loses the silver medal, Canada gets elevated from bronze to silver, and China gets elevated from 4th place to a bronze medal. So that's all the stories for this week. Let me know in the comments what you think about Blessing Okabari's 10-year sentence, whether or not that's too long of a sentence for an athlete, and if you think she will appeal to the Court for Arbitration of Sport.